Well, it's morning at the eastern anchorage here in Cape May. I'd planned on getting out of here pretty early this morning in hopes of making a break for Atlantic City, but it just wasn't meant to be. I'd noticed late in the afternoon yesterday that one of the rudders was not performing properly. This is the portside rudder. It works fine. And that steering cable sticking out, it works fine. This is the cassette for the starboard side rudder. I took the rudder out. The steering cable that's sticking out there is not working fine. For whatever reason, the end there is stuck, so I disconnected it from the cassette. I lack the proper tools to take the cable apart right now. I need at least an inch wrench and probably a set of vice grips to try to open up the end of that. So I disabled it for now. At this point, I'm guessing that the brake is two parts. One, the cable is broken somewhere internally for the starboard side steering cable, which would explain why it still works okay at the helm. And then second part, and I may be wrong about this, but I think that the solid end of the cable is stuck, which may be why the cable broke in the first place. I don't know. In any case, I have one good steering cable, and because of the way the steering system on this boat works, I'm up Schitt's Creek. What do I mean by that? Well, I do have one working rudder. That's good. By disabling the other rudder, it's not going to conflict with whatever this rudder's doing, so that's okay. But this friggin' motor is steered by little strings that are pulled by the rudder cassettes. Without the rudder cassettes both articulating, the motor is not going to turn. At best, it'll turn the boat to port. When this rudder pulls to port, the motor will turn to port. But then there'll be nothing pulling it back to center line or pulling it to starboard. Well, that's not going to work. I had all of this pretty well documented last night, right before it got dark. I was taking that video on my cell phone. Well, last night, when I was untying this line from the rudder cassette and tying it over here, I was sitting much the way I am right now. My knees up. Guess where my cell phone was? In this pocket. And guess what happened? Cell phone fell out. I didn't know it fell out. Not until I heard it bang on the deck. And then I heard sploosh. And all was lost. Okay, so here's the entire steering solution. Using one steering cable on the port side rudder cassette, I can steer the port side rudder. When I steer to port, port side rudder cassette will pull on this bar with the rope wrapped around it as backup, hopefully to prevent it from separating at the joint, and it will pull this cassette, which it does beautifully. When you turn to starboard, this cassette will push on the pole, which shouldn't be a problem at all. It's reinforced, and will push on that cassette. It steers just fine. One thing to note, I do believe that these plastic ends to the force bar pole are one of many weak links in this system. Okay, with the engine in the down position, you'll see that I hooked up the ropes, so I have the loop from the figure 8 knot there into the little spring clip hook. Same thing over here, and the steering works pretty well. The engine turns. It doesn't turn as much as I'd like it to, but that's as much as the geometry of this system will allow. The rudders only turn so much, and therefore the engine only turns so much. But anyway, I'm back to full functionality here. The only thing I don't have is a solid backup plan if the single steering cable decides that it doesn't want to work for me anymore. What? You didn't think this was sorted out yet, did you? Go. Later than I expected. Always late. Even with all the trouble we had. Right in the inlet. Good God. Sailing trial by fire. Okay, doing 5 knots. Currently motor sailing north up the New Jersey coastline. Got some, I don't know, 2-foot waves rolling through. It's not that bad. Just a little nerve-wracking because I know I'm out in the ocean. I'm gonna keep the engine running for a little while anyway, until I feel like I'm in a groove here. Jersey, there's a whole lot of nothing. The flag's not staying where it's supposed to. That's this pass for you. The steering system so far seems to be doing all right. So I put out a partial head sail, slightly furled. I just don't want to put out too much canvas right now, at least until I get a little more comfortable with this thing. I'm mostly concerned not with the current wind speeds, which are about 13, 14 knots, but more so about the gusts, which are in the 25 knot range, which is getting pretty close to where I need to put in the first reef. Let's just see how this goes. So I'm motor sailing, pull between 6 and 7 knots. I'm still not comfortable enough to turn the motor off out here. Eventually I think I'll ease into it. Working okay so far. I'm across from 2 Mile Beach. I think that's part of Wildwood, New Jersey. And I'm just gonna keep going. Unfortunately, with these waves and such, my autopilot's not that advanced. It can't handle it, so I need to hand steer. So, my best point of sail right now is going 60 degrees. 59 or 55 to 60 degrees, somewhere in there. That's where I pick up the most speed. I go between 7 and 8 knots. But I'm having a bear of a time keeping the boat pointed in that direction. I can't trust the autopilot. It just doesn't have the balls to hold the course. And even if I just lock the autopilot without turning it on, even that doesn't hold the course very well. Mostly because of the way this steering is.
It's loosest and it's sloppiest right at dead ahead. I imagine they probably all are, but it doesn't help me. That was Wildwood. Well, that didn't last long. Down to one rudder, as I feared might happen. That little black plastic end pulled out of the tube. Now it's just sitting there attached to the rudder cassette, and then the tube I have just propped up on top of the motor right now. Only the port side rudder is actually steering. I guess I get some steering out of the starboard rudder when I'm turning to port because the rope is still going to pull a bit, but for the most part it's useless when I'm trying to go to starboard. And the same can be said for steering the motor itself. Okay, so I did a technique I believe known as parking. I've got the engine, I had a high idle because I don't want it to die. I managed to bind this end of the pole back, so I'm going to have a little bit more steering again. It's not great. It turns out that that plastic end did in fact snap, so we'll see what happens. I made the rope that runs along it tighter, so hopefully I don't end up snapping the other one. Temporary solution is temporary, that's for damn sure. Anyway, I'm going to point back on my course and see what the hell happens. This boat's doing really well, as long as you're looking at everything forward of the lazarets. I got a broken pillar here for the bimini top. I've got broken steering. And I've got an engine that won't start without a screwdriver. Well, still motor sailing. Mostly because I'm a little chicken shit about shutting the motor down right now. I'm doing a minimum 6 knots over ground. And then I surf down these waves. They're not big waves, but they're giving me a nice push. I'm getting up sometimes to 9 knots. So that's cool. It's still a bitch to steer this thing. I know autopilot's useless right now. I have one board down. I'm not sure it's helping. I was hoping it would settle the boat a little bit. Bocce steering repair number 2 is holding for the moment. Right now, we are pretty much even with the northernmost end of the Cape. So we're well past Cape May, obviously. We're past Wildwood. I'm not sure what towns are in between, but we're getting closer to Ocean City. So that's what we're doing. So I had some dolphins out here swimming alongside me maybe about 10 minutes ago. But I was really rolling, so I couldn't grab the camera. That's alright. This is fun, but I'm just a little nervous the whole time because I know my steering situation's a little screwed up. I know I'm racing against the clock again. I need to get to Atlantic City before dark. I like being out here all by myself. Not with my skill level. Still about 20 miles out, way out on the horizon. It's kind of hazy, but I can see Atlantic City, my destination. So I grabbed my iPad and I managed to get in touch with Virginia over Facebook Messenger, and I told her my plans to try to make it to Atlantic City this evening. She tells me not to worry about her father he may not be able to meet me until Saturday night anyway, so good. Because I'm pretty sure when I get to Atlantic City, I'm going to tuck in just behind Rum Point. Apparently there's a nice calm anchorage in there. And I can calm down a little bit for the night. Maybe fix the steering some more. Hey, someday when I get good at this, why don't you come sailing with us? I can clearly see Atlantic City on the horizon. I feel like I'm still running a little behind, but I'm catching up. So this is Ocean City over here. Might be able to make out the Ferris wheel. And then up ahead here, there's our destination, Atlantic City. So I parked the cat real quick in the waves here to take the mainsail down and pull up the centerboard that was down. I took a look over here. We had failure of our bindings. So I just quick grabbed it with my belt. So I'm like a race against time here. So I'm kind of just hanging. Always fighting the clock. I'm almost in the channel. And I go turn to the port side and probably take these waves right on the beam. That sucks. But hopefully there's a jetty and hopefully it's calm once I get into the channel. Look at that. Sloppy steering is not doing so well. At this point I just hope it doesn't let go. Sort of see where this is going. I can see the bridge over there and I'm going to make a right into some little anchorage right by Rum Point. That happens to be before that bridge. Assuming I can steer this thing enough to get it in there. This is difficult. It looks like it's flat in there. Got it. Oh, there's Atlantic City. A peaceful sunset while I fight. They were braking as I was going through it. That sucked. There's the bridge, and somewhere off to the right. That's where I'm going to hole up for the night. Assuming I can steer in there. Surfacing right in front of the boat. By me. The other side of the jetty. Fair amount of wind blowing through here. I'm staying way to the left because there's a tug over there with a crane on my right, picking up most of the channel. Oh, this is insanity. God. With proper steering, I wouldn't care. What was that? A lot of holes out here. I guess they'll protect me from the wind if it comes from any direction other than the direction it's coming in right now. Well, I managed to drop anchor, bridle out. It's very windy, but here I am in the anchorage inside from Point. Lots of condos, it looks like. Oh, I hope this wind dies down, because ooh, is it pulling me? Whew. Look at the condition of this. The end snapped off. I wrapped the rope around it. The binding somehow got loose in some manner. I don't know. I kind of did it in a rush, and it seemed to work for a couple hours. Then wrapped it up with my belt. Just give it something else, and even that looks loose now. But I made it from Point. Let's hope this anchor holds.